Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reddit Recon, where we read Reddit posts so you don't have to. In this video, we're going to look at a few posts from Today I F'd Up. The first one we're going to look at today is from Cosmic Wolf. Today I F'd up by accidentally kidnapping a child. So this happened last week when I was babysitting my nephew for a few days while my sister was out of state for my brother-in-law's family emergency. So I'll call my nephew Adam and his friend is Max. My sister asked me to watch her son for a few days while her and her husband went out of state, because his mother was hospitalized, and I agreed because I love Adam. Adam is still in elementary, but me and him get along pretty well because we enjoy similar things, so I was looking forward to the week. This all started when I went to pick Adam up from school. They called his name over the intercom and he came out with his friend, Max. Who's this? My friend Max. Mom usually lets him come over after school. Hey Max, I'm Cosmic Wolf. Hello, Mr. Cosmic Wolf. Is it okay if I hang out today? Sure, that's fine. Is your mother okay with it? Max went silent for a second, but then answered, Yeah, she's fine with it. I talked to her about it yesterday. So off we went. We got back to the house and Adam asked if we can go get some ice cream. I love ice cream. So the boys dropped their bags and I drove them to the store and I bought us all some ice cream. I decided we might as well get some snacks too while we're there. Adam and Max got excited and grabbed a bunch of snacks. So I paid and we left, stopping at the park on the way back to eat the ice cream. We got back home and Adam and Max played with Legos and I prepped dinner while watching a movie on TV. So a while goes by and I ask Max what time I need to get him home by. Hey Max, what time is your mom expecting you home? Max didn't respond, so I repeated the question. Mr. Cosmic Wolf? My mom doesn't actually know I came over today. When he said that, my heart dropped and my first thought was, did I hear that right? I asked him what he meant and he explained to me that his mom told him that he couldn't go over to Adam's house until he cleaned his room. It dawned on me that I basically just kidnapped a child. I immediately asked for his mother's phone number, which he didn't know. Parents, please teach your children your phone number. I asked for his address and he said, I live near the school. Yeah, thanks kid, that really helps. I checked my phone only to realize the outlet I plugged it into didn't work and my phone was dead. I didn't know what to do and I was getting really worried that the police would knock on the door and arrest me. I calmed myself down. I plugged my phone into a working outlet and I talked to Adam and Max. I told Max that it wasn't okay to lie and his mom was probably freaking out right now. I picked them up from school at 3 p.m. and it was 6 p.m. When my phone turned on, I saw that I had 6 missed calls from my sister and 3 from my brother-in-law. I called my sister back and explained frantically what had happened. She calmed me down and told me that Max's mom had called them and asked if they had had Max. And his sister answered no. Max's mom hung up and my sister tried to call me to ask if I had Max. When I didn't answer, she gave up and just wished her friend luck. My sister called Max's mom and explained the situation. Max's mom came and picked up Max. I apologized for all the trouble I caused and she told me it was fine. The problem was solved in the end. Me and Max's mom talked for a bit and she managed to calm down finally. She told me she was about to call 911 when she got the call from my sister, so it's a good thing Max came clean when he did. Me and Max's mom exchanged numbers in case this ever happens again, and we shared a laugh over the craziness of the situation. I'm really glad she was understanding and didn't call the police on me. So in the end, it all worked out, I would say. Why did Max's mom wait 3 hours to call the police, you might ask? I don't know the full story, but from what I know, she had a bad experience with the police in our area, and since she isn't white and had no evidence of the occurrence, they dismissed her. Racism is a big problem here. She only wanted to call the police as a last resort. She spent 3 hours calling and looking in places Max could be. You also might ask, why did they dismiss Max to an unregistered adult? The way the elementary school works is this. Every child has a number attached to their book bags. That same number is given to the parents and they display it on the dashboard of the car. They call the number and the student with the corresponding number goes outside. Kids in the same household share a number. Max leaving with Adam was a normal thing, so it wasn't thought of much. Well, I really think Cosmic Wolf got lucky on this one because it could have went the other way and she could have gotten a lot of trouble for this. Let's go look at this story in the comments from Manic Degressive. When I was a substitute teacher, I had a few teachers who would regularly use me as their preferred sub, since I knew them personally, so I saw the same couple of classes frequently, and they got to know me relatively well. There was this one kid named Felix. Felix was a sweetheart, but I'm pretty sure Felix had undiagnosed ADD or something. He was smart or at the very least average, but he basically wouldn't do anything on task unless someone stayed near him and kept him focused on the task at hand. This was in 2nd or 3rd grade for him, so kids are kind of like that. But while his classmates could at least focus on getting their work completed, if Felix didn't have someone keeping him focused, he'd end up crawling under the desk, or doodling, or playing with his shoes, etc. He wasn't rude or anything. If you asked him what he was doing, he'd blush and tell you whatever he was doing. And if you asked him to go work on his work, he'd go and do it, for about 30 seconds. Until some new distraction came along. Anyway, my point is that ultimately, I actually liked Felix. He was just a nice kid. Some of his classmates were on their way to turning into little jerks from what you could see was negative influence from their parents. And Felix didn't have a great home life, but despite that, he was just nice, generally agreeable kid who couldn't focus on anything for long. One day I sub for his class, and the day ends, I stand there by the door watching all the kids get picked up. And once the room is finally empty, I walk around stacking all the chairs on the desks, tidying up, picking up the trash and little pieces of junk kids have left around, and putting away anything that got left out. It took maybe 45 minutes. After that, I go to work on my notes for the teacher, mostly going over how everyone behaved and what work I did or didn't get to. I'm sitting there writing in a dim classroom with the lights off, and I hear this faint tee. It was some horror movie stuff. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, and for a few minutes I was convinced that a little ghost demon child was haunting the room and was about to come bite my Achilles tendons. I look up from my desk, look around. Hello? Tee. What the F is this? I stand up cautiously. Hello? Is someone in here? Tee. I start walking around the room and go and peek under some of the desks in the general direction of the giggling. Thank God it's not a demon ghost child, it's effing Felix, hiding under his desk, scaring the crap out of me. As soon as I see him, he says, "Ah, you found me!" Felix, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be home. Didn't your mom pick you up? No, she didn't come today. Are you sure she didn't come? And you didn't just miss her because you were hiding in here? I waited, but she didn't come, so I came back inside. And you hid under the desks? He nods. Okay, let's get you to the front office so we can have your mom come and get you. Okay, buddy? Okay. So I finished writing my notes and I took him up to the front office, who told me I could leave him there with them, and that they'd keep an eye on him until his mom showed up. Apparently his mom didn't show up semi-frequently, though nobody had actually mentioned that to me before. And that's the story of how I almost locked a 7-year-old in a classroom overnight. While this wasn't a today I effed up, I thought this story was pretty funny of a teacher that thought she was getting haunted by some demon ghost child in her classroom while trying to finish her work for the day. Let's take a look at this post from Baba Duke, who tried to gas his family out on a road trip. Today I effed up by eating 8 chocolate fiber bars before a long car ride with family and experienced the most absurd gas leak in history. This happened a year ago, but I just remember this horrific event and the poor victims that never fully recovered. I was set to go on a 10-hour road trip through the interior of British Columbia, and with me were 2 of my cousins and my uncle. However, before our 6 a.m. start, I decided the night before to wolf down these chocolate chip Fiber One granola bars that had something like 75% of your daily fiber intake. These things were crazy good, and I ended up eating an entire 8-pack of them in one sitting. After that, I went to sleep and woke up in the morning to a bloated stomach, but I felt fine otherwise. 45 minutes into our ride, the cramps began. My stomach grew larger and larger, and I ended up needing to remove my seatbelt and undoing the zipper on my jeans to give it more space to expand. My cousin next to me couldn't believe what he was seeing. He said it was like the blueberry scene from Willy Wonka. I couldn't hold the gas any longer, and I asked my uncle to pull over, which he did, and I struggled to get out of my seat as every move was agony. A thunderous roar escaped me like an a-hole racing his Harley Davidson around the block on a Sunday morning. The gas leaked out of me as my stomach grumbled, shuffled, and shuddered. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that this fart lasted at least 15 seconds. Little did I know I'd just broken the seal and I would proceed to experience uncontrollable and obnoxious, powerful farts that lasted 10 to 15 seconds on average, with only a brief period of relief between said farts. The fact of the matter was that I was now experiencing major flatulence every 2 to 3 minutes, and we couldn't stop the car every few minutes to escape the smell, so we decided to roll all the windows down and allow me to let loose whenever I needed. However, we had no idea that this would become a much longer ordeal than we initially thought. Truth be told, I couldn't stop farting for nearly 7 hours, and each fart just had to be more epic than the last. By the time hour 2 rolled around, my butt was sore and aching, and my insides feeling like shards of glass were ripping through me, and the smell became so overpowering that we had to stop at a gas station and buy as many air fresheners as we could. I took one of the air fresheners and sat on it in the hopes that each fart will be freshened up. Instead, it just smelled like rotten eggs and pine. My cousin and uncle resorted to using Vicks around their nose to stop the smell. The pain from constantly farting brought me to tears at one point, and I realized how ridiculous it must look to see a grown man crying while farting non-stop. At hour 4, disaster struck. I stopped farting, but I was still swelling with gas. I knew I was plugged up, and if I didn't do something soon, the pain was going to become unbearable. We stopped at a coffee shop and I ran in to use the bathroom. I gingerly sat down on the toilet and gently pushed, but the pain was too much. I resorted to pushing on my stomach to help things along, and suddenly I felt this wave of pressure hit me that made my butt cheeks break into a cold sweat and I start to tingle. Suddenly, and without any warning, a rock-hard turd rocketed out of me like a cannonball and plastered itself to the back of the toilet bowl. And with that, this tidal wave of what could only be described as peanut butter oatmeal. I can feel the muscles in my abdomen squeezing my intestines so hard that it actually hurts. It was like when you were throwing up and you can feel your stomach violently squish itself to push everything out. But instead it was my butt that was throwing up. Once everything was pushed out, it was topped off by the longest fart in my short, pathetic existence. One that I could never actually give the length, other than it was well over 20 seconds, and that I could literally feel and see my stomach shrinking. I destroyed that poor coffee shop bathroom, and I frequently wonder what happened to the person who wandered in after me. From that point forward, the farts were just as frequent and long, but they felt cleaner and less restricted. It began to feel like I was airing my colon out, blowing out all the accumulated dust. My ribs and anus ached horribly. But I was starting to feel the euphoria rush over me that I assumed was just the epinephrine rush my body was giving as a way to protect my fragile mind from this ridiculous ordeal. By the time hour 7 rolled around, my farts had slowly faded away, but the smell permeated my clothes and the seat behind me. The family had gone through almost an entire container of Vicks, and they appeared to have survived the ordeal, but I could tell that a part of them was broken that could never be fixed. It was as though they felt violated by having to breathe in my butt breath for 7 hours. And I knew my uncle was upset that his car interior would never smell the same again, and it already smelled like hot garbage by this point. We eventually arrived without incident, and we refused to speak of this event. Things were never really the same between all of us after that, and I have a feeling none of us will ever touch eggs ever again. They already ate enough of my farts, they don't need a reminder. I should never have eaten that much fiber. I had no idea it was capable of that. I'm glad that we can all laugh at my fart attack and the pain and suffering that comes from it, but please don't do what I did. I was a dumbass that couldn't stop eating chocolate, and what I did was dangerous. I am certain you'll only hurt yourself if you attempt this, so please do not try it. Okay, so this has to be the funniest thing I have ever read on Reddit. That was freaking hilarious. I just love the fact that he was crying and farting at the same time, and he destroyed that coffee place's bathroom. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, bye.